This is a property in number theory. Let A, B, C be integers. Prove that if A divides B, A divides C, then A divides 3A minus 2B. Well, first of all, let's recall the definition of A divides B. So what does it mean when we say a number divides another number? So for specific numbers, it's easy for us to understand. For example, when we say 2 divides 6, we mean when we divide 6 by 2, the remainder is 0. So in other words, 2 goes into 6 a certain number of times. So when we want what's the definition? So a lot of times we probably don't, for 2 goes into 6, we don't really have to explain it. Everybody understands what it means. But for variables, we have to have a certain expression or definition, and so we can understand what do we mean by A divides B. So in this case, the definition says if a number goes into another number, say number A goes into number B, what does it mean? It is equivalent to saying A goes into number B a certain number of times. That means I can write number B as number B as number A times an integer. So we don't really like to use English words. Usually in mathematics, we like to use symbols. So let's use symbol K here. Let me use a different color to specify. This is a K here. So there exists an integer K such that number B, the number on the right side, can be written as A times the integer. So this also means, also tells us A goes into B K times. So, well, it's A goes into B K times. So that's the definition of A goes into B. So similarly, if we want to prove 2 goes into 6, what we need to do is to show 2 goes into 6 how many times? A certain number of times. So we found out it's 3 times. So this is the proof. So if you can write the number 6 as 2 times an integer, and then you can prove 2 goes into 6. Okay, so let's take a look at the problem here, how we write the proof. Well, this is the definition that we have to use back and forth. So if we know a number A goes into number B, then we will immediately convert it to this equation here. So that's writing B as A times an integer format. In other words, if you can write a number B as number A times an integer, you can say A goes into B. Okay, so let's see what we know. If condition, this is a conditional statement. So there are 2 conditions we know. This is actually, we can put an and between them. So we know both of them. So this is what's given or what's known. And with what's given, we want to prove this result or conclusion. So this is something we need to prove. If it's something we need to prove, we don't know that. So you cannot say because A goes into 3A minus 2B, you cannot say that because it's the conclusion we want to prove. Okay, so let's see how we write the proof down. Now, first of all, I'm going to start with what's given, the condition hypothesis. Since the problem tells us A goes into B, it says if A goes into B, then something will happen. So we know A goes into B. There exists by definition. What does it mean when we say A goes into B? It means there exists an integer K such that number B can be written as A times K. So A goes into B K times. Similarly, we also know number A goes into number C. There exists an integer. This time we pick a different letter because we don't know if A goes into C the same number of times as A goes into B. So let's write down C as A times L. So that means A goes into C L times. A goes into B K times. Okay, now we want to, what kind of conclusion can we get based on these two right here? So we know we have these two equations. What do we need? We need to show A goes into 3A minus B. So this part is going to go on my scratch paper. So that's your thinking, your mind. So how do I prove a number goes into another number? So by the definition, if you want to show, oh, I'm sorry, this should be 3B minus 2C. If we want to show a number goes into another number, we have to write the other number, 3b, in this case, 3b minus 2c, as a times some kind of integer, which is like saying, hey, a goes into 3b minus 2c, how many times? So this integer here tells us how many times. If we can find out a goes into 3b minus 2c exactly how many times, then we can say, a goes into 3b minus 2c. Okay, so but if we can write this equation, if we can have this equation form, 3b minus 2c equals a times some kind of integer, then that's saying a goes into 3b minus 2c this many times, just like we can write 6 as 2 times 3, that means 2 goes into 6 exactly 3 times. So the same thing here, except we don't have numbers, we just have a bunch of variables here. Okay, so this is what I want. But what we have two equations here. Let me call this equation 1, this is equation 2. This is the equation I want. So based on equation 1, equation 2, how do I obtain equation 3? So let's start with the left-hand side. In equation 3, we want 3b minus 2c on the left side. And we have b in the first equation, c in the second equation. We just don't have 3 and 2 in front of them. But by algebra, we know that whenever you have an equation, you actually can multiply both sides by the same number. It's not going to change the equation. So that's what we're going to do, because we need a 3 in front of b, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 in equation 1. Now in equation 2, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, because I need a 2 in front of the letter C. 2A L. And I can subtract, because we got to 3b and 2c now, and we just need a subtraction between them. And again, by algebra, we know that we can subtract two equations, both sides of the equation, if they're equal. So I can do the left side minus the left side, 3b minus 2c. That will still be equal to 3ak minus 2al. And so I keep the left-hand side 3b minus 2c because that's what I need. The right-hand side, I need a by itself times some integer. So that tells me I should do factoring, pull this a out, and that leaves me 3k minus 2l. And that is exactly an integer. So why is that an integer? Because we know k is exactly how many times a goes into b, and l is exactly how many times a goes into c. So they're both integers here. Since k, l are both integers, 3k minus 2l is also integer, because integer times 3 is still integer, minus integer times 2 is still integer. Okay, so that we have exactly what we need. So we can say a divides 3b minus 2c. Well, because we find out, we actually found out a stronger result. We found out a goes into 3b minus 2c exactly 3k minus 2l times, so this many times. Not only we know a goes into 3b minus 2c. But all we need is this equation form, so we can say a goes into 3b minus 2c. So as you can see from this example, whenever we do a divisibility proof problems, we repeatedly use this definition. If we know a number goes into another number, change it to its equation form. If we have the equation form, we can change it back to divisibility form. So like the last step here, we have the equation form. The equation form can tell us the divisibility form. A goes into 3b minus 2c.